Hello, and welcome to this gate overview. Today we are going to be looking at gate 55. You can see it in the drawing here. 55 is the brown streak going up to just under 10 o'clock, and it is situated in the solar plexus. It's the individual gate of spirit. It's the gate of abundance. And as I said, in the solar plexus, that brown triangle there on the right-hand side of the chart, which is the emotional system, of course, and it points down to gate 39. That's its harmonic. Gate 39 is in the root center, and it's the gate of provocation and obstruction. And together they form the channel of emoting, which is a design of moodiness. The polarity, the gate on the other side of the channel, no, other side of the wheel, is that red streak at around 4 o'clock, and that's gate 59. Gate 59 is tribal. It's the gate of dispersion and sexuality, and it is a sacral gate. So those are the two gates that we're mostly looking at, although 39 plays its role here as well, as you'll see as we go through the lines together. So the headline in the Rave I Ching, above the lines, it says, abundance is strictly a question of spirit. This hexagram is of enormous importance to humanity. It is in the 55, in the sixth line, that the nature of emotional spirit will begin to awaken as a genetic evolutionary pattern. And so the nature of the 55th hexagram is important to us at that level. But also remember that on the mundane plane, it is currently at its most unstable, and it is one of the most volatile of all the emotional gates. It has the wave which has the highest ups and it has the lowest lows of all of the emotional gates. This is a highly mutative gate, and it is part of the cross of the sleeping phoenix, a cross that is going to awaken in 2027, that is going to bring with it the fire of the new age as it rises from the ashes, no longer sleeping. And it's a gate that is in a place of transition because of all that right now. And so the reality is that what it represents is this, well, this enormous instability in the movement of the wave, in the wave of emotions, which is the cup of life, you could say. That cup is always perceived through this gate as either being half full or half empty. So abundance is the gate of potential awareness. When the life is experienced emotionally as either this or that, it's not aware. This is the wave frequency of the emotional hope to pain cycle. Moods are the manifestation of this frequency. The individual finds its spirit in the emotional now. And the wave is made up of many points in its geometry. And it is through the awareness of these points, through the wave, that clarity is eventually realized. And this is the same for all of the waves. It's not just this individual wave, but this is how the wave operates. Where are you on the wave? Gathering information in. This is how the wave works, which is why there is no truth in the now, if you are emotionally defined. The 55th gate is always uncertain. It is a gate of procrastination and indecisiveness. And this is one of the deepest dilemmas in its process. Being part of the individual circuit, it is always potentially moving towards a place of knowing, and yet the knowing is a spontaneous affair. This is a pulse frequency, remember. And when knowing comes, it is complete in and of itself. There's no quarter knowing. There's no a little bit of knowing. You know or you don't know. Knowing in this sense is not the product of either experiment nor experience. Both of those are the collective way. Knowing is simply a phenomenon. I love that word, phenomenon. It always makes me think of the Muppets. Phenomenon. Do, 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 do. Phenomenon. Do, 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 do. So given the nature of what life is, as a Muppet, most of life for the 55th gate is uncertainty. It's the uncertainty that is born of not knowing. And not knowing can be something that becomes a drag on the spirit. Uncertainty becomes a pain to the spirit. And also, not knowing can be something that is elevating to the spirit. Half full, half empty. It all depends upon the perspective and the place in the wave. The awareness potential is the mood to eat. And this is one of the things to recognize about the nature of the 55th gate. A valuable lesson for anyone who has this gate is do not eat if you're not in the mood. Do not eat if you're not hungry. So important, because this gate can become really unhealthy if there is no natural way of burning off the energy that it consumes. Or if there is no connection to the sacral, if there's nothing between the root, the splenic, those sorts of connections. There will be the desire to eat, but there'll be no mechanic to work that through. So vigilance is needed over the qualities and the desires that are held in this gate. And food is another one of those dilemmas here in the 55. There are many food-related issues, whether that's anorexia or bulimia, or it's overeating, comfort eating, discomfort eating, behaviors around food that are directly connected to the 55th gate and to its mood and to its spirit. This is the emotional system, which is the center of pleasure and pain in the life. And many beings who suffer in their spirit try to compensate one way or the other, maybe with food, maybe with sex, maybe with other drugs, but something to fill what I think it's Eckhart Tolle, he called it the hungry ghost. You're constantly trying to fill that place within you that feels so empty because your cup is half empty, because your wave is low. The 55th gate is at its best when it can eat or work or anything else, really, when it is in the mood to do so. Only when it is in the mood can it be truly social, unless those with the 55th gate come to understand that and honor that. They're going to suffer terribly in their wave. And so the mood becomes the essence of all of this. In general, everything having to do with individuality has to do with honoring moods, honoring timing. 55th gate is the mood gate of the spirit. And another one of its dilemmas is that because it's individual, it carries a chemistry which has the potential creativity on one side and the potential melancholy on the other side. And of course, a melancholic gate that is also emotionally down on its wave can be an emotionally melancholic down on its wave gate. Yay. So I have the 55, so this one is a little bit familiar for me. Someone who has the 55 in a defined emotional system operates very differently from someone who has it in an emotional, open, emotionally, in an open emotional system. Yeah, I get my worms right again. The 55th gate in a defined emotional system, it's going to be part of the authority of that person. We know that whenever the solar plexus is defined, it is the inner authority for that being, so that it's my inner authority. It means that knowing is the key to the decision-making process. It is something that can only come over time. So what's important about the 55th gate is that it needs patience. And this is true of all the emotional gates. Patience, it's almost sort of, you could describe it as one of the wounds of the emotional system, is that from very, very young, it was never really acknowledged how much time it needed in order to process things, in order to just be comfortable in its world. Even simple things like being asked if you want a drink. It can take you a moment just to settle in there. So I don't know, do I want one? It's not like a major wave question. I know that it's not one of those, like, do you want to buy a new house kind of things, but we still have to check in with our body, don't we? Otherwise it's a mind thing saying, yes, I do, just because we've been offered it and we don't want to say no, or whatever the mechanic is around our design. And so many people, they want an instant answer. do you want a drink? And you go inside and you're wondering, and then they're like, well, do you want one or don't you? It's like, well, just give me a minute, okay? Just give me a minute. This is something I only really, really, really came to grips with coming into design and noticing and realizing and having it shown to me through an experience that I had in a workshop, that I'm so much more comfortable when I'm just given a bit of time. So this is something that is very important for all the emotional gates, and it's certainly important when you're in the 55 and we're looking at the spirit and we're looking at the other end, which is the provocation, and all of these mechanics come in. The fact that it doesn't know, the 55 doesn't know, doesn't mean that its knowing isn't still a potential somewhere down the line, given time. And everything about the 55 is a building of passion, because that's the stream that it's in. It's a fire that grows, it's a passion that grows. But it's only as this passion grows that the certainty can crystallize within the emotional being. But if you're non-emotional being, if you have an open or an undefined, or you wouldn't have it open actually if you've got the 55, would you? You've got an undefined solar plexus and you've got a hanging 55, then of course you are dealing with the not self strategy of avoiding confrontation and truth. And whenever your 55 becomes active, its moodiness, its truth, and all of this becomes amplified and becomes the force that defines your life. And that's not going to be correct for you, because you're not there to experience it consistently activated through a channel or through the solar plex being defined. So again, it becomes a lesson of really knowing who you are. Who are you when you're in your own aura and your solar plex isn't defined and your 39 isn't defined? Who are you then? So that when you are in situations where your solar plexus gets lit up either by a transit or somebody else coming in, someone else comes in with that 39, you get to start feeling it and recognizing, oh, okay. Oh, well, this is fun. I quite like this provocation. Or no, no, this is not a provocation I want to stay with. You can learn it. You become more aligned with your truth, with what is comfortable for you. And the wave then doesn't boss you around so much. It gives you an ability to be able to avoid those beings who impact you emotionally, and not just a negative impact necessarily, but anyone who impacts you emotionally, because it's going to bring out that emotional uncertainty that lives within the 55. And it's going to bring out the potential for that emotional moodiness. The power of the emotional awareness and its potential to destabilize. It's the testing ground in humanity's search for spirit. Spirit is not a concept. It's not an instinct. Those belong to the ajna and the splenic center. Spirit is an emotion. The potential for spirit and its manifestation, it lies here in the 55th gate. And it is through this gate that the limitations of emotions are experienced. The gate of spirit, opposite the gate of provocation. It's the potential to be clear about where provocation is and whether we like it or not. It's something to consider about the nature of the 55th gate, that this gate of spirit is where the spirit will awaken. But of course, it's layered by the emotional wave. It's potentially conditioned by provocation. These are the things that give this gate the deep quality of moodiness and melancholy. Melancholy it's to be understood, if you like, as a wave that is relatively consistent. It kind of goes straight and straight and straight, and then it goes straight up, or it goes straight down. Yeah. I used to think of it as being like a pulse in an ER room, or on medical sitcoms. What's a sitcom? Not, it wouldn't be a sitcom necessarily, would it? A drama. Okay, a drama series where you're in a hospital environment, in the emergency room, and you see they hooked up to the thing. And I've been talking to a lot of friends recently who have this, particularly the 55, getting some valuable insight from them because they've got the whole channel. And what they said to me is it very much is more there are plateaus where you actually, it's fine, and then you'll get a spike. But it's a quick spike, and that's where you get the sort of correlation to the ER spike, the emergency room spike, where it's going up and down. So it's just a quick spike up, or it might be a quick spike down. It's not like the collective wave. But what might happen is that you would meet a 3955 in your life, okay? And because we know a little bit about human design, we assume that, oh my God, they're going to be so emotional because this is the channel of moodiness and the channel of emoting. There you go. And yet you find that you can be with them for quite a long time, and they seem to be quite cool and quite stable in their emotional field because this is actually the nature of the melancholic chemistry that's within them. They're not really jumping into the extremes of the wave in a long process, but it is something that is triggered in a specific moment that goes up or it goes down. And it's very different from the tribal wave, which is a very, very long wave. And it's that ratchet that's 2 steps up and 1 step back and over. And it's not the experiential wave, which is cyclical and has much, it's much more of a journey on it almost. It can be very tight, but it can also be, whoa, what the 55 carries that gives it a little extra frisson, a little spice to the mix, as if it wasn't spicy enough, is that it can be very fickle. We have the T's in the 39 at the other end of the channel, and the 55 is the gate of being fickle. Well, these two gates are made for each other. The 55, because it is a gate of melancholy, that there is one salvation for anyone who carries this gate. The fickleness, with their melancholy, with their indecisiveness and procrastination. And that is, and also the down on the wave, that is no reason, no reason. I give no reasons. This is a mantra for, well, anybody who is either emotional or melancholic. You do not ever need to give a reason for your melancholy or for being down on your wave because it's chemistry. That's it. So it doesn't need to be attached to anybody else. It doesn't need to have a story behind it, even though other people will often want to know, what's wrong with you? Tell me what's wrong. Tell me what made you feel like this. I just do. It just does nothing. I'm fine. Leave me alone and go away. I'm just down on my wave. Leave me alone. It's a really important thing to take on. And of course, it's really difficult when you're with someone who really cares about you and they want to know how they can help you. But as I mentioned a little while ago, Blackbird, as I mentioned a little while ago, was it in the 49? It might have been in the 30, of course, in the feelings, that very often there is that case of someone who's open emotionally, who wants to know, what is it that's making you feel like this? It's because your wave is making them feel so uncomfortable that if somehow they can help you feel better, then they're going to feel better. Or if at least they know the reason, then their mind is going to be happy and they'll, so tell them to get out of your aura. It's fine. Just get out of my aura for a while, see how you feel. And we find our way through it and we get comfortable with each other. But the emotional up and down that comes with the 55, it's melancholic sadness and happiness. These are actually measurements for the 55 by which they can be clear. It's almost their parameters for clarity and for productivity in the world. Only when the 55 is melancholically sad is it truly fickle. And it's in a moment of sadness when that's when they're ready to say, oh, that fickleness is going to give a reason. Oh, I'm sad because. And then this is the moment that they lose the creative potential of that sadness. Melancholy is the only source of art. Ra says it doesn't come from anywhere else. Not talent. This isn't talent. This is the pure creativity that comes out of melancholy. It is one of the great challenges to be able to accept either the emotional wave or the melancholic chemistry or the two of them together, and to accept them by not establishing reasons. Anybody that can do that, stepping into their power, And it truly is an empowering place to be. Um, and it's easier said than done, always. I understand that too. And I know the power of the wave. I'm an emotional being myself. I have the 55. I have a ratchet wave as well. I have these experiences. So what I'm offering to you is a potential. It's all, that's all. And there's no judgment either way. And it's a journey. And for some of us, it takes a really long time to get to the hang of that this is just where I am. This is just what I'm feeling. Yeah. And there's no logic here, in the individual wave. There's no logic in the emotional system. We live what we live in an extraordinarily rich and colorful way with with the emotional wave. And it's fine. We just have to accept the nature of the motor and the way that it works. And that then helps us tap into the spirit, and through accepting the spirit, tapping into the spirit, it sets the spirit free, and abundance is our reward. So the grounding for the 55 is coming through gate 59, the gate of dispersion and sexuality. This is a sacral gate, and it's a roll gate. It gives us the strategies that we are genetically designed to use for bonding and union with the other. And it's a gate of penetration. And the headline says the ability to break down barriers to achieve union. So the individual gate 55 is supported by the tribal 59. And when you consider that the mutation that is carried within individuality as a potential, at least, but that mutation, it can only make it out into the collective through the tribe. This makes perfect sense then that we should have the 55 linked into the 59. The mutation that is predicted for 2027, it will begin in gate 55, having been initiated by gate 60, a powerful mutative force, and it will make its way down the channel from the 55 to the 39, then up through the channel of mutation, keeping it all in individuality and really hammering in that mutative force. It's going to have difficulty at the beginning when it gets to the gate 3, but then it's going to make its way, hopefully, theoretically, if we are going to survive and evolve to our next stage, it will make its way into the 59-6, mutating the channel of mating, mutating our sexuality as it moves down that channel or up that channel, depending on how you want to look at it, towards the solar plexus, moving towards there where it is going to change the nature of 2 of the 3 waves as it does so. It's quite a thing that's heading our way. It's yeah, it's an amazing time to be alive and to be somewhat aware of the energies that are around us and that we are living through. Yeah, interesting. So until I am back shortly with gate 55 in the first line, I will leave you with phenomenon, phenomena, which I love. It's such a beautiful word. It always makes me smile. And so go gently. And the 55, your spirit shines through, of course, whether or not you're aware of it. We can't help it. It's a natural part of who we are. All of us carry it, whether we've got 55 or not. In our design, we all have everything, and we all have this spirit, and we all have the access to the potential to love ourselves. I will see you shortly for the first line. I'm looking forward to this journey through 55. I hope you will join me. Take care.